Hey, Jeff. Kelly Street here. Obviously, you know. I am super excited to be talking to you today. We have been getting a lot of questions from our current clients and potential clients about satellite offices. And as the COO and co-founder of Attorney Sync, I thought you would be a good one to direct the questions to.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
Super exciting. So first question that we get a lot is, can you help me understand the role and value of having satellite offices?
Sure. So oftentimes when I get this question, it is focused around the benefits of it from an SEO point of view. We'll get to that in a minute. But one thing that doesn't always get brought up is the idea that it can be really good for conversion, right? So when someone is looking for help and they have an office and they're kind of sold on, reaching out to you, but they have to travel a distance to get there, they can be more likely to choose someone that's a little bit closer. So having a satellite office where they can meet at that's closer to them can really help from that conversion standpoint.
Yeah, convenience is of the utmost importance in this day and age. Awesome. So as you kind of mentioned, SEO strategy. So how do satellite locations play into SEO strategy?
Right. So usually I kind of frame things in like the different channels, right? So when you've got a paid search strategy, you have a lot of flexibility over where you can show those ads. And even though there may be conversion facets of that, you can basically advertise those anywhere you want. However, on the SEO side of the house, there are rules of the game from the perspective of how Google set things up that can be more limiting. Right, and one of the big ones is how Google is showing local packs, right? So from that end, the way that local packs are shown, they're tied directly to physical office locations. And in the case of a lot of different searches where people are doing things like Chicago personal injury lawyer or even just something like personal injury attorney, those local packs are going to show. And just to make sure that everybody knows what I'm talking about with that, what I mean is, you've got ads on top, right? And then the local packs are going to be a map with reviews. Typically there are like directions or call buttons on there. And then the Google My Business listings for the firm. And then below that, the actual SEO or organic results. So the business locations are tied to the local packs, and Google will serve these up, but one of the big components of what they're actually showing is going to be proximity to where someone's doing a search, right? So if someone has a mobile phone, Google's going to know like the foot of land that they're literally standing on. In a lot of cases with desktops and different types of IP routing, they can figure out where you're at. And so they want to show you results that have offices that are businesses that have offices that are close to the proximity of where you are when you're doing the search. Right. So to that end, let's say a firm was in the suburbs. I'll use Chicago because that's where our office is located. And they were in a suburb of Chicago. They're not going to be able to compete for local pack visibility in downtown Chicago unless they have an office there as well. Right. And vice versa. Even a law firm that has a really good presence in the city, if the searcher is out in the suburbs, they're going to get local results for the suburbs there. So if you are looking to have an SEO presence in a specific area and you don't have a physical office location there, you're going to be trying to do it with one hand tied behind your back because you're not going to be able to compete based on the rules of the game separate from what any kind of SEO agency is actually doing on your behalf to generate those types of results. So what we do is, we want to articulate and explain this to a client that it's not about just sticking Chicago personal injury lawyer a bunch of times as a keyword on your site and you're going to be able to compete there. You actually have to have the office, a physical office in order to do that. Then you push into kind of a gray area because guess what? A lot of people figured this out. Right, so they said, all right, how can we take advantage of getting in the local pack if we have a site that's real authoritative, we have a lot of reviews and different things built up so that we're going to be able to compete and show up there. And so what a lot of firms were doing is they were going through and setting up satellite offices in like shared office spaces where they didn't have any kind of permanent lease. and doing it all over a state, right? And so just like instantly having all these local pack advantages in these areas as a result of that. So Google's onto that and they clamp down. So when we're making a recommendation, the purest, you don't have to worry about it, way to set it up is that you have an actual physical office location that is your office. It's not a shared office, that you have your own suite number, or, you know, obviously if it's own building, that's yours at least, then you're going to be fine. As you shift into these other types of setups, you can get a little bit more in the gray area, right? Where it depends on what else is going on and how Google views the buildings, right? So in some cases, you have your own suite, it's an office, a building with a bunch of other offices, and you're actually okay in that sense. But in other situations, there may be competing firms that are already being associated with, like a firm that also does personal injury and is in the same office location, and they're already being associated with that location. It can be difficult to bump over them. Or Google views it as a straight shared office space where your listing will work until it doesn't work anymore, right? And then they can just pull it as a result. So you want to be cognizant of that going into it, so you're not just opening up spaces and trying to execute a strategy on them and then running into issues where it's not working or not able to get leverage for some of these other reasons. And as a part of the way that we'll approach that, we'll do some of that research ahead of time. So before someone's actually committing or signing a lease, we'll give recommendations saying, hey, this is what the building looks like. We think that this will be okay. You know, you're in a safe spot over here, to try to help guide that, so you're not signing some longer term issue, lease that could have potential issues, things like that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that being reaching out to your SEO company and asking them about a possible location that you're looking at. I didn't even think about what an advantage that has over just kind of going, hey, this is a spot where we want to be. Yeah, there's a law firm down the street, but that's very smart.
It's a definite consideration, and something we've run into issues where attorneys have contacted us after signing a lease and moving and being, okay, I'm moving to this location. And there's significant problems that we would have been able to catch ahead of time. Now, sometimes those decisions are made completely independently and you can't help it. But if you have options and some choice, making this a part of the decision-making process with where you're signing up for a location should be a big factor, especially if you're putting a lot of resources, time, money into an SEO strategy. This is a killer if it's not done right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even big PI firms, but like regular size personal injury firms are probably spending as much a month on their SEO as they are for their business location. And that's huge. So huge. All right. So how far out, geographically speaking, does your online business listing help you, or how far out does it work?
It's a good question, and I'm going to give the classic lawyer answer of it depends, right? So when you're in real dense areas, typically by dense, I mean like, obviously population, but also density in terms of the number of other law firms doing similar practice areas in your radius, it tends to shrink it, right? So if you're in like, to be consistent with the example, if you're in like downtown Chicago, we've seen studies where they have been every zip code, which is real small area, has a different local pack that's being served depending on searching there. As you get out to areas where the volume of law firms is a little more spread, it can increase the radius or amount of area that it's showing. I'd say like on average you're looking at maybe like 5 miles as a radius, but again, when you get into more dense areas, that's going to shrink depending on proximity of the searcher to where your actual physical office location is.
Yeah, I've seen. I know Guy talks a lot about he'll just walk around downtown Chicago, and as he's walking, he'll see what comes up in the local pack there, and it's amazing. One block can change everything.
I know, and actually, it's an interesting point is when people will ask me sometimes about rankings and when can I be for this particular term in this area, and as one of the examples I use is this exactly, where it's saying you need to understand that it's so personalized, and one of those factors being where you're searching from, right? That if you take your same phone and you're walking around a city and you perform the same keyword search in different areas, you're going to get different results, specifically in the local pack. So it's just something to be aware of from the standpoint that that ranking's not the best metric because of that, even though, you know, there is value in being there and ultimately generating traffic and calls as a result of that. So.
Yes, 100%. Jeff, thank you so much for your expertise on satellite offices, and I hope this helped. If you have questions about satellite offices for your law firm, definitely reach out and give us a call at AttorneySync. Go to attorneysync.com or email workwith@attorneysync.com.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Jeff.